the United States has opened a fresh trade investigation into what it calls unfair trade practices by 16 major economies. Among them are India, China, Japan, and the European Union. The move comes barely a month after Washington and New Delhi announced a new trade framework that was meant to ease tensions and expand bilateral trade. The probe is being launched under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, a powerful legal tool that allows the US government to investigate whether a country's trade practices harm American industries. If violations are found, Washington can impose tariffs or other trade restrictions. For India, this investigation comes at a delicate moment. In February, Donald Trump and Narendra Modi announced a framework aimed at building a broader India-US trade agreement. The understanding included tariff reductions on several US products and a commitment by India to increase imports from the United States. But now, the new probe introduces fresh uncertainty into that fragile trade détente. The immediate trigger behind this investigation is a recent ruling by the Supreme Court of the United States. The court struck down a key part of the Trump administration's earlier tariff program. It ruled that the White House had overstepped its authority when imposing sweeping tariffs using emergency economic powers. That decision weakened Washington's leverage in ongoing trade negotiations. To maintain pressure on trading partners, the administration imposed a temporary 10% tariff on imports from all countries. But that measure will expire in July. The new Section 301 probe appears designed to create a stronger legal foundation for fresh tariffs before that deadline. US officials say the investigation will focus on what they call global manufacturing overcapacity. In simple terms, Washington believes some countries are producing far more goods than their domestic markets can absorb. Governments may support these industries with subsidies, cheap loans, or state-backed policies. As a result, surplus products get exported to global markets at lower prices. From the US perspective, this hurts American manufacturers. It pushes down prices and makes it harder for domestic companies to compete. That is why the administration is now examining several indicators. These include persistent trade surpluses, government subsidies, state-owned enterprises, subsidized lending, suppressed wages, and weak labor or environmental standards. For India, the stakes are significant because the United States is its largest export market. Several key sectors could come under scrutiny if tariffs are eventually imposed. Between April and January of the current financial year, India exported more than $20 billion worth of electronics to the US, including smartphones. Textiles, pharmaceuticals, engineering goods, metals, gems and jewelry, auto components and solar equipment also make up large portions of India's exports to the American market. Many of these industries fall within manufacturing categories that could be examined under the excess capacity probe. Even a tariff of 10 to 15% could make Indian products less competitive in the US market. However, experts say a blanket tariff on all Indian goods appears unlikely. More realistic scenarios include sector-specific duties or measures targeting particular supply chains. Much will depend on whether India is specifically identified in the final findings of the investigation. The probe will now follow a formal timeline. Public comments will be accepted until mid-April. A public hearing is expected in early May. The final findings and possible remedies could come before July, just as the temporary US tariff regime expires. This means the coming months will be crucial for India-US trade relations. On one hand, both countries are negotiating a deeper bilateral trade agreement. On the other, Washington is signaling that it will continue using tariffs as a key economic tool. For India, the message is clear but complex. The investigation does not automatically mean new tariffs, but it does introduce a new layer of risk at a time when trade ties are expanding. In modern global trade, cooperation and confrontation often happen at the same time. Whether this probe turns into a major trade conflict or simply becomes leverage in negotiations will depend on how the next phase of India-US trade talks unfolds.